Early 12th century, among the silent peaks of the Atlas Mountains, a new voice rose, not with a sword, but with a message. His name was Ibn Tumart, a reformer from the Suez region. He called for a return to the pure essence of faith, to true Tawhid, the oneness of God, and from that word came their name, the Almohads, Al-Muwahidun. His call was a revolution against excess, corruption, and the decline of moral discipline under the Almoravids. In the hidden valleys of Tinmel, he built a movement rooted in faith, learning, and reform, one that would soon shake empires. After Ibn Tumart's death, his disciple Abd al-Mu'min ibn Ali took command. He united the Amazigh tribes from Sousse to Tangier, across Algeria and Tunisia, and in 1147 CE, the Almohads captured Marrakesh, ending Almoravid rule and founding a new empire built on faith and order. Under their rule, Marrakesh became a beacon of learning and architecture. The Koutoubia Mosque, their masterpiece, stood as a symbol of enlightenment, a harmony of devotion, geometry, and beauty. It was an era where faith and intellect walked hand in hand. The Almohad Empire stretched across the entire Maghreb and into Al-Andalus, ruling Córdoba, Seville, and Granada. They brought stability, prosperity, and a sense of unity between the lands of Africa and Iberia. Theirs was a civilization of the mind. Philosophers like Ibn Rushd, Averroes, Ibn Tufayl, and Ibn Zur shaped the thought of both East and West, merging faith with reason and reason with wonder. But after a century of glory came the fall. In 1212 CE, the Almohads suffered a crushing defeat at Las Navas de Tolosa, marking the slow unraveling of their empire. Yet their legacy did not vanish. It lived on in the architecture, the philosophy, and the spirit of Morocco. From the mountains their faith began. From Marrakesh their light spread, and when their swords fell silent, their wisdom endured. The Almohads were not merely rulers, they were builders of unity, knowledge, and faith. In the heart of Morocco, as the dawn mist rises over the roofs of Fez, echoes of a new dynasty begin to stir. The Almohads have faded into history, and from the plains of Zenata, a new power rises, the Marinids. Born from the Berber tribes, forged by war and vision, they would carry Morocco into a new age, not of conquest, but of knowledge. It was the 13th century. The Almohad Empire was collapsing, torn by internal strife and rebellion. Amid this chaos, the Marinid leader, Abd al-Haq Bru, united his people and took control of northern Morocco. By the year 1248, they captured Fez and made it the beating heart of their new empire. The city would soon glow with light, not the light of swords, but of wisdom. Under Abu Yusuf Yaqub and Abu al-Hasan al-Marini, Fez transformed into one of the most radiant cities of the Islamic world. They built madrasas, schools of theology, law, and philosophy, each more beautiful than the last. The Bu Inania, Al-Atarin, and Saharij madrasas became jewels of Islamic architecture, their walls whispering verses of faith and reason. Here, students from Africa, Andalusia, and the East came to seek knowledge and found a home among the scholars of Fez. Unlike the empires before them, the Marinids sought legitimacy not through holy war, but through scholarship. They preserved the legacy of Al-Andalus, carrying its sciences, poetry, and art into a new Moroccan Renaissance. Their rulers walked among the scholars, and their cities became living libraries, where ink was mightier than steel. In their time, Morocco was not just a kingdom, it was a classroom beneath the stars. Yet time is merciless. By the 15th century, internal rivalries and the rise of new powers, like the Wattasids, weakened the Marinids. Their palaces grew silent, their scholars scattered. But what they left behind, the madrasas, the manuscripts, the marble, became eternal witnesses to an age of enlightenment. Even today, when you walk through Fez, the air still hums with the prayers and questions of those who once sought truth. The Marinids did not build an empire of swords, but of minds. Their legacy was not carved in blood, but written in light. From the 13th to the 15th century, they turned Morocco into a bridge, connecting the spirit of Al-Andalus to the heart of Africa. and in that bridge still lives the soul of Fez, the city where knowledge became eternal. In the early 15th century, Morocco stood at a crossroads. The Marinid star had dimmed, and from the cracks of a fading empire, a fragile new power emerged, the Wattasids. They did not rise with thunder, but with necessity. A dynasty born not from glory, but from survival. Before the Wattasids could even take a full breath, the storm arrived. In 1415, Portuguese ships pierced the Atlantic horizon, their cannons echoing across the coast. Ceuta fell, a scar that would never fully heal. And the young Wattasid state watched the ocean turn into a battlefield. The Wattasids were scholars more than warriors, administrators more than conquerors. But history is unforgiving to the gentle. While they patched the empire together with diplomacy, piracy, and fragile alliances, the world around them grew sharper, filled with European expansion, tribal revolts, and Ottoman ambitions. One by one, Morocco's coastline trembled. Ksar es-Sagir, Asila, Tangier. Each carried the echo of a kingdom slipping toward the edge. And in the stillness of Fes, their capital, the Wattasid sultans felt time running through their fingers like sand. By the 16th century, a new force rose from the south, the Saadians, stronger, wealthier, forged by jihad against the Portuguese. And when they marched north, the Wattasid flame finally flickered out, not with defeat, but with exhaustion. The Wattasid dynasty did not shape Morocco with glory, but they held the kingdom together when the world tried to tear it apart. And in the silence of their era, Morocco learned a lesson it would never forget, that even the weakest guardians can protect a nation long enough for the next sunrise to come. At the dawn of the 16th century, Morocco stood divided and vulnerable. Foreign powers circled its shores, and the Wattasid state struggled to hold its ground. But from the valleys of the south came a new force, a family of sharifs, known as the Saadians. Their rise would reshape Morocco and restore its pride. United by faith and lineage, the Saadians rallied tribes against the Portuguese threat. With determination and charisma, they reclaimed coastal cities one by one. And when they entered Marrakesh, they carried with them not just strength, but a promise of renewal. But the defining moment came in 1578 at the legendary Battle of the Three Kings. Three monarchs met on the field of Wadi al-Makhazin, and only one survived. The Saadians emerged victorious, defending Morocco from foreign domination, and announcing their arrival as a great power. In the aftermath, a new ruler ascended, Ahmad al-Mansur al-Dahabi, the Golden One, and under his rule, Morocco entered one of the brightest chapters in its history. Al-Mansur transformed Marrakesh into a city of splendor, golden palaces, vibrant gardens, and halls filled with scholars from across the world. Trade flourished across the Sahara, bringing wealth from Timbuktu to the gates of Morocco. The Saadians were not only warriors, they were builders, patrons of science and art. They expanded the Ben Youssef Madrasa, built the stunning Saadian tombs, and strengthened Morocco's standing among the great nations of their time. But like all golden ages, theirs was not eternal. After the death of Al-Mansur in 1603, disputes fractured the dynasty, and slowly the light began to fade. Yet the legacy they left, strength, unity, and beauty, continues to shape Morocco today. From the battlefields of Wadi al-Makhazin to the halls of Marrakesh, the Saadians carved their story in stone and history. A story of resilience, a story of renewal, a story of a Morocco rising to shine once again. By the late 17th century, Morocco stood at a crossroads. Years of division had left the kingdom fragile, a land searching for stability and for a leader who could rebuild what had been lost. From the deep desert valleys of Tafilalet, that leader emerged, the Alaouites. The Alaouite family, descendants of the Prophet Muhammad, rose to prominence in the Saharan trade routes. Respected for their lineage and trusted by tribes who longed for unity, they moved northward, step by step, gathering tribes, calming rivalries, and slowly stitching together the fabric of a fractured land. Then, in the year 1672, a new ruler ascended, Moulay Ismail, the man who would reshape Morocco with iron will and unshakable vision. He chose Meknes as the heart of his dream, a city that would rival the great courts of the world, with towering ramparts, vast granaries, shimmering gardens, and palaces stretching farther than the eye could see. Under his command, walls rose like mountains, gates were carved like poetry, and Meknes transformed into a symbol of a new, unified Morocco. To secure the kingdom, Moulay Ismail built a powerful, loyal army, a force that brought peace to troubled regions, protected trade, and repelled threats along the coasts. For more than 50 years, he worked to bring order to Morocco, centralizing authority, rebuilding cities, and ensuring that the kingdom could stand firm against the rising powers of Europe. Under the Alaouites, trade flourished once more. Caravans from the Sahara brought gold, salt, leather, and manuscripts. Scholars found refuge in Morocco's growing centers of knowledge, and diplomacy strengthened ties across Africa, Europe, and beyond. When Moulay Ismail passed in 1727, he left behind not only an imperial city, but the foundations of a dynasty that still rules Morocco today. From the deserts of Tafilalet to the palaces of Meknes, from fragmented tribes to a unified kingdom, the Alaouites carried Morocco into a new era. A story of endurance, a story of transformation, a story of a nation rising and continuing to rise across the centuries.